Hi, folks. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for being here on today's webinar, Better Rides and Better Business with the Ride with GPS Tourism account. My name is Amelia Neptune, and I'm the director of the Bicycle Friendly America program at the League of American Bicyclists. I'll start out with just a couple housekeeping notes before we get started. We are recording this, and we will share the recording with everyone who registered, and we'll also post it to the League's website. So if you want to share it or watch it again later, you're more than welcome to. As you join online live, you should see that closed captions are on and enabled for those of you who'd like to use them, and you can find the option to either hide or show subtitles at the bottom of your screen. You'll also see that all attendees are muted, and we'll keep you muted, but you are more than welcome to add questions to the Q&A box that you see at the bottom of your screen, and also use the chat function to chat with your fellow attendees and with the speakers. Everybody can see both, and you can upvote questions on the Q&A function. So please feel free to use that, and we will have time to get to your questions at the end. I'd also encourage folks to use the chat box to introduce yourself, tell us where you're coming from, and we can see who's in the virtual room that way. Now, I'm really excited to introduce our speakers, but before I do, I just wanted to make a couple of comments about the League and why we're so excited to host this webinar with Ride with GPS and work with them to encourage our growing network of bicycle-friendly communities and bike advocates who are working to improve their communities all across the country. And we think tourism and biking is just, there's so much great potential for a sort of symbiotic relationship between the two. Those of us who ride bikes regularly have all probably experienced the fact that there's no better way to really get to see and be in a community than to ride a bike on it, in it. And so encouraging tourism bureaus and visitors bureaus to think of biking as a great way to bring in new visitors and show off your community, and also encouraging bike advocates to think of tourism as a mechanism to help encourage your community to make improvements and to make investments in becoming more bicycle friendly. So it's a great win-win. And using Ride with GPS is an awesome tool, as you'll hear about today, to sort of make that connection in your community. So I'm really excited for all of us to learn more from our awesome speakers, and to use this tool as a place to draw more people to your community and to help your community, become safer, more comfortable, more inviting for people who are riding bikes, both including residents and tourists and visitors. So with that, I'm excited to introduce our speakers. First, I'll start with Alex Gay, who is Ride with GPS's relationship manager. He's been part of the company since 2018 and assists their partners in cycling tourism destinations, cycling clubs, tour operators, events, and bike shops to succeed in utilizing the Ride with GPS's tools. He's an avid bike rider and commuter in Portland, Oregon. And before you all joined, we were just hearing about Pedalpalooza in Portland, and it makes me really want to go there to participate in some of those events. And then we're also going to hear from Brannon Pack, who is the Director of Cycling Tourism for Experience Fayetteville, the destination marketing organization for the city of Fayetteville, Arkansas. And in this role, he oversees all aspects of the organization's cycling initiatives. And I just want to say again, Director of Cycling Tourism is a job that I want to encourage every tourism bureau and destination marketing firm across the country to think about creating a role like Brannon's, because I think he's the only one I know of, and I would love to see that pop up in every city. But in that role, he oversees all aspects of the organization's cycling initiatives, including community and business relationships, cycling content development, cycling event attraction and retention, and cycling advocacy. Brannon's work supported Fayetteville's recent designation as a gold-level bicycle-friendly community, and the now 50 recognized bicycle-friendly businesses, which is the third most of any community in the country. And I actually have a slide on that I just like to show off. So this is a graphic that we show off regularly, and we update every time there's a new bicycle-friendly business awards announcement, and I really have to give Experience Fayetteville a shout out for the work they do to bump Fayetteville up to number 3 in the country and still rising. So back to the bios. Prior to joining Experience Fayetteville, Brannon served as the executive director of the Ozark Off-Road Cyclists, which is the state's leading nonprofit organization dedicated to the growth and development of multi-use soft surface trails. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand it over to our awesome speakers.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Amelia, for kicking it off, and thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. I am Alex with Ride with GPS, and today I'm going to show you a few slides about our tourism account and some opportunities that are available to you within it. But before diving into that, let's like to tell you a little bit more about Ride with GPS if you're not familiar. Ride with GPS is a cycling software company that creates tools to plan routes, discover them, and navigate them. We were founded in 2007 as a college project by our two co-founders and still co-owners, Zach and Cullen. And since then, we've grown into a business 15 years later with over 30 employees, I think 31 now. And we are profitable and growing and only funded by our users. So we don't have any sort of external funding from larger investors. So that means that we get to have the agency to work on the projects that we see most valuable, that we get to listen to our users and listen to their needs and make sure that our tools are the most relevant to expanding of the effectiveness of our software. On our website, you'll find a very robust route planner, as well as on our mobile app. It's a place where you can plan routes, discover routes, import routes, edit routes that you find from other people, annotate those routes with points of interest. Where's the water along the way? Where's the restroom? Where's the best cafe? Where's the bike shop? Where's the pub at the end? And then continue to add more detail with things like custom cues to better narrate that route. Those routes that you're creating have a cue sheet which reads out loud your route's directions, and those can be very, very tuned to what you want it to say beyond just to turn right onto Main Street. It can say turn right onto Main Street and stop at this cafe for a great cup of coffee. In that route planner, while you might not know where to create a route or where to even start, there's additional tools, things like our global heat map that help you get an idea of where people are riding in your area now. So we'll highlight that with a color either from light blue to red, depending on how popular that is. So you can get an idea of where people are recording their rides on Ride with GPS and then saving them. So an effective tool to really start somewhere. If you don't know where to start on our route planner, and you can get an idea of where people are going. Our mobile app offers a place to use those routes. You created your route on our website, but now you can share that with others. And the mobile app allows you to save your route offline, so that even if you don't have cell service or you put your phone into airplane mode, you can still navigate that route with turn-by-turn voice directions. You can still view the route, the map background, and then all of those points of interest you added. So you don't need a standalone bike computer like a Garmin or Wahoo. You probably already have this tool in your pocket, and that's just your phone with our app on it. You can still navigate those routes, much like you might hear from Google Maps, but with much more tuned routes to what you want to create or present to others. So those tools, the route planner, the mobile app, those are available to everyone. Anyone can create routes, use our app. Some of those features require a paid subscription from our individual users, but we also have an additional package that's geared towards tourism. And not tourism, not necessarily DMOs or CVBs, but also being used by advocacy organizations or just hobbyist websites that want to promote riding in their area. They're all using it. And so I'll of the 3 items on the screen now, I'll cover 2 of those in other slides, but I just wanted to call out that in the tourism account, in addition to being able to manage your content and embed maps, that the mobile app that I just spoke about, you know, the offline maps and voice navigation, they're typically paid features. But with the tourism account, the routes that you create in your account, those routes are all able to be used for free by anyone, no prior approval and no subscription necessary. So it's a great way if you have a library of routes that you want to share with either your locals or your visitors, you can provide those routes without needing to require them to subscribe to Ride with GPS. So in the tourism account, we give you a few ways to manage your content, whether that is the members of your account, what your members being, you and your staff or contractors, or if you did want to add community members to it, being able to manage them all in a central place without needing to share a common login. You all have your own personal access to manage the route, manage the routes, manage the other assets in the account, manage your points of interest, manage your routes, all from their own pages. I mentioned points of interest. There's a whole library that you can create of your points of interest, your bicycle-friendly businesses, your parks, your public restrooms, your water, your anything you want, your cafes and other businesses that you want to highlight. You can add them all centrally here in the point of interest library, apply them to many routes at once rather than one by one. If you have the same cafe that 10 routes go by, you can add it once to the library and apply it to many routes all at one time. It's very nice. Be able to apply those points of interest to embeddable maps for your website. Update those points of interest so that if a business moves or changes its name, change it here in the library, and it gets applied everywhere that that point of interest lives. We also have these nice map embeds that you can put onto your website, show off groups of routes, show off your points of interest by category, and be able to link those routes either to our website by default so that from your website they can view that route in full on our website, or if you do have a standalone page on your website about that route, you can keep your website visitors on your website rather than leaving to visit ridewithgps.com. You're able to download PDF maps direct from the website embed, or better yet, have them navigated on our mobile app in the modern age. Collections are a way that you can group your routes together by category, whether that's gravel or road or family friendly, like Experience Fayetteville has done with their collections, or grouping them together by distance or terrain, your short routes, your medium, your long routes, your hilly routes, your flat routes, your ice cream routes, however you really want to group them together. So think of it as a folder system that you can assemble routes in the same all together, have them in one shareable link. So if I were coming to Fayetteville and I wanted to have all of the family-friendly routes bookmarked on my account, I can come and follow that collection so that they're all available on my phone, on my app when I get there, and I'd be able to download and navigate them for free. In addition to the tourism account is the ambassador program. And this is a way that you are able to highlight your best routes your vetted routes that you submit to us and we approve, and then those routes appear at the top of our find pages on our app and our website. And so Brannon's put together a lot of ambassador routes, and when you're searching in Fayetteville for routes, a lot of his show up at the top because he's done a lot of good work to make them ambassador routes with photos and points of interest and a lot of detail, so that he gets good visibility and more people are being directed to his routes. These pillars are things that I think about with tourism from the DMO and CVB lens. Having Ride with GPS tools help develop your assets by leveraging our route planner, helping grow your audience with embeds, putting them on your website, marketing your routes on our website by them being ambassador routes, serving your community, your visitors by giving them the tools to navigate those routes confidently in a place that they may never have been before. And they know that they have the best amenities along the way with all the points of interest that you've added. And then some tools to measure that. So with some route metrics that we have available, or then a newer thing that we're offering is these route reviews that we're asking people who ride in real life those routes what they thought, how did the ride go, what they liked about it, what they would maybe change. So all good things to kind of leverage your bike riding in your area. Here's some logos of a selection of other tourism accounts with us right now in the US and Canada and other parts of the world. So it's a program that's been around since 2018 and has grown steadily in that time. So it's exciting to be here today and maybe continue to see it grow with even more. We have some nice quotes that some existing accounts have said about us. I don't need to read these out loud, but I'll share the screen. I'll share the slideshow afterwards, and you're welcome to read those. But in addition to tourism, we have ways for bike clubs, cycling events, bicycle tours, and riders just like you to all use our tools. So you might already have a bike club in your area using our club account. Same goes with an event or tour operator, or just Joe and Jane cyclist who loves to create routes on Ride with GPS and share them. So I think if you're starting from scratch, all good places to look towards if you're trying to figure out what are the best places to go on either recreational riding in your area. The tourism account is $499 a year annually. There's no limit on anything in the account. Everything I spoke about is included. We also offer a Tourism Plus, where for $999 a year, you're able to get everything that's included with the standard account, but there's some room for extra consultancy by me to help either make getting your account set up easier, bulk uploading things in the account, creating routes or transcribing routes that you already have, and just packaging it all up so it's ready to go for your audience. We are partnering with the league to kick back part of your tourism account subscription. So if you do sign up for a tourism account, we'll give back to the league 20% for your first year and all subsequent years that you renew, so that you can support the league to continue with their great efforts of bike advocacy and infrastructure, and make it so that we can, keep giving back to our communities, and our communities can continue to grow and have good cycling opportunities. So if you do want to talk more or ask questions or create a tourism account, please email me. My email address is on the screen here, and I'm happy to talk and answer any questions you have. We'll have time for Q&A at the end, but if you want to reach out direct, please get in touch. So now I want to bring Brannon on and have a little conversation about Fayetteville and tourism.
I'm bummed you didn't read my quote out loud, Alex. I was so proud of that. Good afternoon. How's it going, Alex?
Good. Thank you for being here. So Brannon, you have the very cool job of Director of Cycle Tourism. And we got a little background on you. Can you give us anything else you want to share about yourself?
I mean, Amelia did do a great job, and I appreciate that. I'm excited to be here, excited to for the partnerships that we have with both the League of American Bicyclists and Ride with GPS. And I do have a unique title. It is Director of Cycling Tourism for Experience Fayetteville. That is the destination marketing organization, tourism bureau for Fayetteville, Arkansas. We're a vibrant town in the northwest corner of Arkansas. In this role, I walk a lot of ropes. That includes managing our organization's cycling-focused marketing content, including route development. I manage the relationships for regional, national, and international cycling events. And I spend a lot of my time from the bicycle-friendly business side, working directly with our hotel and restaurant partners to build a more bicycle-friendly community here in Fayetteville.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So what's the history of biking in Northwest Arkansas?
Okay. I don't know, let's see how much time we have. I'm going to try to be brief. It's extensive. First, Fayetteville has this deep, rich history with road cycling, Alex. That dates back over 5 decades. Fayetteville is home to the annual Joe Martin Stage Race, which is the longest running multi-day road stage race in America. This last May, it celebrated its largest professional men's and women's fields in the history of the event. After all these years, the event is still growing in prestige. I'm talking like past and present national champions, world champions, Olympians have all graced and raced the roads in Fayetteville. For mountain bikers, the birthplace of Arkansas's mountain biking happened just south of Fayetteville in Northwest Arkansas at a state park called Devil's Den State Park, where literally in the late 1980s, the state of Arkansas began opening up what had traditionally been hiking-only trails to mountain bikers. And I know that mountain bikers in other states still struggle with trail access to this day. But the truth is, Arkansas was one of, if not the first state, to recognize mountain bikers as a legitimate trail user group and open up our trails to them. By the late 1900s, which is how my youngest daughter now refers to it, I've got mixed feelings on that. The trail community had began hand-cutting mountain bike trails at Fayetteville's Kessler Mountain. This established the recreational value of the mountain and essentially led to the conservation of almost 700 acres of public land and the creation of what would become Fayetteville's Mount Kessler Regional Park. And today, and hopefully those on the call know that, Northwest Arkansas, we have a vibrant mountain bike culture, and what we collectively call Oztrails is home to almost 600 miles of single track trails. Speaking lastly to our bicycle and pedestrian network, it's been 20 years now since Fayetteville adopted the region's first active bicycle or active transportation and bicycle master plan. 20 years ago, Fayetteville had no bike lanes. We had no bike routes. We had just the beginning of a trails program. Since then, truly a surge in community support has led to the development of, we're up to 53 miles of protected paved trails in Fayetteville alone. This includes the largest portions of the Razorback Greenway, which is an award-winning 40-mile multi-use paved trail that connects 7 sister cities here in Northwest Arkansas. The Greenway just was awarded National Recreational Trail status, and Mile Zero, the beginning of that award-winning trail experience, sits right here in Fayetteville, Alex.
It's pretty cool. So, what makes the cycling experience in Northwest Arkansas special?
Oh, today, I do think it is that award-winning trail development that has made Fayetteville and the Northwest Arkansas region such a vibrant cycling destination. There is a couple things that, are setting us apart. One, I think, is buy-in. And by that, I mean, we are all bought in, top down, bottom up, from the community to elected officials to stakeholders. At this point, most recognize the value of investing in both paved and soft surface trails in Northwest Arkansas. A good example, I'll try to pull some numbers out, but on average, 19% of Fayetteville's annual transportation budget is invested in bicycle projects, with voter-approved bond funding dedicated specific to trail construction, which is important, and the $1.5 million that we earmark annually in the city's budget. Fayetteville will invest $20 million in trail development this decade alone. Outside of buy-in, I think the other key thing that's setting us apart is accessibility. From our paved trail network to mountain bike trail systems, we've seen a shift in development with a focus on, truly establishing our trail experiences, what I would call closer to home. Just this year, Fayetteville City Council, we adopted updates to our active transportation plan, and that outlines a path for continued growth that included, it was a stated goal to now we're going to build a paved trail connection within a 10-minute walk or 3-minute bike ride to every rooftop, every resident in Fayetteville by 2040. For our mountain bikers, which it is true, a key tourism driver for the region. Our mountain bike story has changed over the years. Not long ago, if you came to Arkansas, it was an hour drive to the trailhead of what were one of 5 IMBA Epic trail systems. These were remote and rugged backcountry mountain biking really defined the trail experiences in Arkansas. I truly credit the Walton family for shifting the focus for development in the region to our own backyard. And by that, I mean today, most of the communities in Northwest Arkansas, we literally have direct access to mountain bike trails from our driveway, or for tourism partners from our hotel parking lots. Development I'm really excited about. In Fayetteville, we're currently wrapping up development on what we call the Fayetteville Traverse Trail. This is a unique single track trail experience that connects multiple public parks, trail systems, residents, the University of Arkansas, our downtown, breweries, restaurants, coffee shops, all with a 20-mile continuous loop right here in the heart of our community. And Alex, for the gravel cyclist or the road cyclist, it is those paved trails that now lead to the edges of our town, where larger larger riding experiences can begin.
Mm-hmm. How far do you have to ride to get to dirt?
I would say, probably from our downtown city center, 6 miles on fully protected paved trails will take you to the edge of town, where, you've got access to, the Ozark National Forest, which is 1.2 million acres of public lands, is literally Fayetteville's backyard. So you don't have to go far to get to truly what is iconic gravel riding and truly scenic road riding.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. When did Fayetteville join the BFA?
I had to look this up because we've been partnering with Amelia and her team for quite some years, but we first applied back in 2008, and at the time we're given an honorable mention. We didn't receive a designation at the time. That's okay. They gave us a great kind of one good thing about the bicycle friendly community program is that the league does a great job of, as you apply year over year, they're giving you a roadmap to success. They're giving you actionable items in your community that you can do to be better. In 2010, we reapplied and we were awarded a bronze bicycle friendly community designation. That made us one of only 2 communities in Arkansas at the time that had received a designation. Then in 2016, we reapplied, that we were upgraded to silver. And that's a result of not only the city steps, again, the league providing, what our opportunities, our community following those, and the steps we took in both adding infrastructure and pro bicycle policies, as well as also, really the beginning of our commitment to promoting cycling through tourism. Amelia mentioned it earlier, most recently in 2022, Fayetteville became the first and only city to have received a gold level designation in Arkansas. This again is thanks to our continued efforts to create safer infrastructure, both for transportation and recreation. Alex, I think we're one of 8 cities in the state now that celebrate a bicycle friendly community designation.
Mm-hmm. Does the whole state have bicycle friendly
No, I mean, again, there's eight communities and regions that are recognized. And so I think there are, and Amelia, I know Amelia can talk to this, but there's obviously a continued interest. And, if you look back at 2008 to 2022, what was one community in the state has now grown to 8. And so the growth is there, and we're seeing that year over year. And it doesn't happen overnight, so starting back in 2008, we received honorable mention. In 2016, we received a silver. We reapplied several times and did the work. It didn't happen overnight. There were 6 hard years of work to get Fayetteville to that gold status.
That's great. So part of the BFA is helping out locals with access to bicycling. So how have they benefited from your investments and commitment to the BFA?
Yeah, I like that question. As we mentioned, community buy-in is, it is critical in establishing a bicycle-friendly community. Speaking directly to the community on the call, there is power in public input. I truly believe that cultivating a cycling community, it does start with us, right? Public input by the community. It does a lot of things. It empowers our elected officials to invest time and resources to create a place to belong for us and our tourism guests. In Fayetteville, the community has asked for that investment to be made, and ridership has followed. I've got some points here. So People for Bike study conducted in 2017 found that 35% of Fayetteville residents had ridden a bicycle 6 or more days in the last year. The national average at that time was 16%. And what we're seeing now is that we're maintaining and actually growing that ridership. A recent study published by, and we'll talk about this, but the Sam M. Walton College of Business just last year in 2022, almost 36% of Fayetteville residents reported that they're riding a bike at least every year. And that includes 33% that are now riding a bike every month. One thing that I think speaks highly to Fayetteville and our investment in infrastructure is the study also identified that close to 47% of Fayetteville riders rode their bikes for commuting trips. And that represents a significantly higher bicycle commuter number than Northwest Arkansas as a whole. Speaking to the benefits, accessible trail experiences have truly improved the quality of life across Northwest Arkansas. As a resident, I can speak highly of that, while also creating really truly a positive health impact for our community. That same study I mentioned, it recognized that the increased ridership in Northwest Arkansas has led to significant health benefits, Alex, including almost $60 million in potential chronic disease costs, saving $60 million in disease costs just last year alone.
Yeah, that's great. So locals are benefiting. How are the tourists, how are the visitors benefiting from those same efforts?
No, and these are, this is very much so, right? So, when you look at growing the overall bicycle friendliness of your community and, truly establishing an active transportation network, and that creates an authentic experience that not only encourages ridership by your community that we've talked about, but also supports cycling tourism. Cycling tourism continues to be, truly a key economic driver in the Northwest Arkansas region. And at this point, out-of-state cyclists are pumping tens of millions of dollars into Northwest Arkansas businesses each year. Speaking to some studies, the studies have shown that cycling tourists identify, new trail experiences as the main motivator for travel. Our answer to that, Arkansas, across Northwest Arkansas, we're building on average 2 miles of trail a week, 2 miles of new experiences every week. Cycling tourists also identify access to trails as the top amenity they are looking for in lodging. On average, specifically to Fayetteville, all of our hotels are on average within a half mile of our paved trail network. So that access is there. And then after the ride, cycling tourists, I'm one myself, we're looking for bicycle friendly businesses, everything from culinary experiences, bars and breweries, the coffee shops. Those are regularly identified as what I would call like off-bike activities. At the end of the day, cycling tourists, we just want to be local. And in communities like Fayetteville, businesses have begun to prioritize cyclists as a customer. Amelia talked to it. 50 local businesses in Fayetteville are now recognized by the league as bicycle friendly. That's the 3rd most in the country. And many of those businesses are the restaurants, they are the shops, they are the pubs that we know cycling tourists are looking for, Alex.
So a big part of your job is, as I understand, pitching to the business owners that yes, there's opportunity, there's money in, welcoming in the cycling tourist.
Yeah, I think I think working one-to-one specifically with what I would call our hospitality partners, which in Fayetteville, we're funded on a 2% HMR tax, which is hotel, motel, and restaurant tax. And so for me, my efforts specifically, I spend a lot of my time working directly with our hotel and restaurant partners, where other counterparts in the city, like Dane Eichling, our mobility coordinator, he looks at large employers and an opportunity to work with them with the same programming.
So if someone here wants to become the next Fayetteville, what would you tell them as like these maybe lower hanging fruits that they could go after to get in that direction?
Yeah, I think that's obviously we've talked about some of it. It's, we know what cycling tourists are looking for. It's accessible trail experiences, it's new experiences. But, I think specifically to becoming more bicycle friendly as a business or in your community, to make a more meaningful connection to, potential cycling tourists, a couple things to consider. One is you've got to have meaningful bicycle parking. You've got to prioritize customers over cars. One parking stall that likely allowed a single customer in probably an oversized vehicle to visit your establishment. We're seeing businesses convert those to bike parking, and now they can accommodate a dozen bikes, a dozen customers ready to spend money in that same footprint. And bicycle parking, it's ideally in a visible location, right? Or what I would call business facing. Cycling tourists, they regularly list bike security as a top concern when they're selecting a destination for their cycling vacations. It's unlikely that a cyclist wants to lock their bikes to a bike rack that is out of eyesight or in the back 40 of your property. And I think that prioritizing cyclists over motorists in your community, it's not only going to help spur tourism dollars, but it's also going to support commuter cyclists that call your community home. If we have any tourism professionals working with hospitality partners like hotels, for your hospitality partners, your community's hotels and those short-term rentals that are growing in popularity, visiting cyclists just want to know that bicycles are accommodated and can be taken to the rooms or stored inside. In Fayetteville, for example, all of our hotels allow bicycles in the rooms, and 9, I think that number's right, 9 of our hotels have received bicycle-friendly business designation by the League of American Bicyclists. And so I think, I think prioritizing bike parking is real key for our tourism partners specifically. And then for our business managers or maybe marketing professionals, it's ownership. It's own the investment in trails being made around you, own it in your marketing, own it as part of your retail experience, own it in your talent recruitment, know where your business is in correlation to your trails and know how to speak to it. I mean, that's it, Alex. Alex, to be successful in this space, you simply have to make bicycles a part of your business model.
I agree. When I'm choosing a place to go to eat or anywhere, if I can't park my bike out front, I'm less likely to choose to give my business to them. Yeah, so we started working together in early 2020, and that's when you started your tourism account with us. And since then, you've put on a lot of work for putting on embeds on your website and those ambassador routes and collections that we showed off, and it's led into a really good relationship. There's a study in 2022, $159 million was spent in the cycling related jobs and tourism revenue and taxes in Northwest Arkansas. What gives you in Northwest Arkansas the advantage? How did all that come about?
Yeah, I like that question. That is a really recent study, just came out last month. And the reality is it is big business, Alex. That same study identified that cycling tourism alone is generating an economic impact of $59 million a year in Northwest Arkansas. It supports almost 600 jobs and is generating close to $5 million in state and local taxes. What's our advantage, I think you ask? The word that comes to mind, and it's a little trite at this point, but it is authentic. That's the word, right? Fayetteville, Northwest Arkansas, we've been fostering, I spoke to this, a vibrant community of cyclists and building out hundreds of miles of trails and supporting infrastructure. And we've been doing that year over year. We've collectively created authentic cycling experiences for road, mountain bike, urban, and now gravel. We've established bicycle-friendly communities, universities, and businesses. And with partners like Ride with GPS, we're starting to do a better job of telling that story, Alex.
So how has leveraging Ride with GPS for your website enhanced the riding in Fayetteville and Northwest Arkansas?
Well, this is where you could just read my quote. I'm playing. I'm kidding. I think Ride with GPS, it's proven to be an excellent tool to help us elevate Fayetteville's unique cycling experience. You talked about this. The Ride with GPS tourism account has several features to showcase the riding available in any community. This includes, we love the embed route feature. Custom points of interest are great. The opportunity to embed photos. I love that they're like geotagged, so they actually show on the experience where the photo was taken. We can identify unique surface types. So we know gravel is exploding in popularity, and the ability to go in there and identify what roads are gravel, and the fact that it then, it kind of breaks down the product mix and shows this route is 65% gravel or 50% gravel, I think is a great opportunity for us to be able to speak to the gravel that's accessible from Fayetteville. And then I love the fact that it does unlock those traditional paid features like turn-by-turn navigation. All that packages up to, for us, it's delivering a positive riding experience for cycling tourists. We chatted a little bit before this, and it is, truly oftentimes great riding destinations stop short of actually showing potential cycling tourists the experiences available in their community, right? It's one thing to say, hey, I've got this great place to ride, but if you're not truly telling people how to have that experience, I found it very unlikely that they're gonna come try. But we found Ride with GPS and those route development tools to be the answer for us as destination marketers and tourism bureau here in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
That's great. Let's look at it.
No, I like that.
So this is experiencefayetteville.com, and done a great job at having a nice website, but up here at the top, they've put all of their cycling resources in one place.
Yeah, you can see there we treat cycling like a pillar, like we would talk about music or where to eat or where to see a show. I like gravel. Click on gravel down there. Gravel's a Yeah, and I think this is a good example of what we talked about. Speaking of cycling tourists, most identify 2 to 4 days of riding kind of as that sweet spot. And we know that it is new cycling. I spoke to this. It is those new cycling experiences that are driving their motivation for travel, utilizing these Ride with GPS account features that you're seeing. We're now able to curate collections of routes and present them as a menu for potential guests to build out their own 2 to 4 days of riding, all right here. And if you scroll down, I think you'll see that's the embed map. It's incredible. Look, I've highlighted what we know are those popular things cyclists are looking for. Where do I get my taco after the ride? Where do I get my coffee before the ride? All that's there. And then in conjunction with that, got a route detail and of all the routes available. And then below that is, that's fine. We take it a step further, but yeah, so here's that collection of routes. And so when we talk about cyclists looking for 2 to 4 days of experience, I give it to them right there. So they're able to look at our routes. They're able to see how far each route is. I give it a kind of a mild, moderate, or challenging, rating based on that's based on length, elevation, just how challenging it is. And then we truly break it down. We give potential cycling tourists the full narrative of what they're going to experience on that route. We identify specific to gravel, what is gravel, what is paved. You can see right there, that's a really fun gravel route. That's a popular one. It's accessible. You can see that green there. That is the Ozark National Forest, a little pocket of it. And so that beautiful route skirts the Illinois River, and it's absolutely beautiful.
In your photos.
Yeah, and the photos are embedded right there. Folks can see them. That is on the route. That's the cool thing about it is, you can't fake this one because if you're using photos, it's going to show folks where that photo was taken. Grabbing a photo that maybe wasn't taken on that route, it's going to show where in the world it was taken. So you definitely want to, just be sensitive to the story you're telling. And I would encourage everyone to tell an authentic one. I think another thing cool about what we're doing with this right here is we've, having a collection of curated routes on our website. It's allowed us to rethink the use of QR codes in our print ads to where now, in combination with some of the pretty pictures you're seeing, we can point folks directly to these routes to start planning their next cycling destination right here in Fayetteville. And you see there, Alex, the custom points of interest we are identifying on our routes, they are the bicycle-friendly businesses in our community and those local after the ride establishments that we know cycling tourists are looking for. It's a great fit, Alex.
It's nice. And here's an example of an ambassador route. Looks a little different than a a typical route where we get some larger photos, a little more thorough description on Ride with GPS, and then of course see those points of interest or route call outs there like that. And then, if I wanted to ride this, I can just click this send a device button and
Off you go.
just got my push notification that I can start using that route. Pretty neat. Brannon's done a really good job of everything. He's kind of checked all the boxes and sort of hit a home run with using his tourism account. And so we did this extra project where Experience Fayetteville, Ride with GPS, a photographer, we all worked together to create this 48 hours in Fayetteville journal article here that lives on our website, where if I wanted to, have a weekend stay, where should I ride? What should I do? Where should I eat and stay? And so we put that all together, and just as a, sort of a big highlight after a lot of the good work that Brannon did to show off some of that. And then we emailed, I think within all of our users within about a 3 or 4 hour drive of Fayetteville, a link to this. And I think it got a pretty good response from anyone who received it. And I hope it kind of piqued some interest for anyone that did receive it to come ride bikes and spend money in Fayetteville.
Yeah, for those on the call that are working in tourism, I mean, we know these type, what we'd commonly refer to probably as a destination feature. Fantastic to see this. This is, and for me, it's evergreen content. It just lives out there, in perpetuity, and it's available for folks to find on ridewithgps.com. And from time to time allows us to, I can, if someone has, hey, what's it like? What's the gravel scene? I can grab that article and quickly shoot it to them and say, hey, here it is. This is what you can do in a weekend here in Fayetteville. And yeah, it's been a home run. Our partnership, Alex, with you and the team has been awesome. There's the little bonus thing I got to do this year, which was pretty fun, is Ride with GPS does a cuddy cap challenge. And this is a way to showcase the points of interest on their app, where they partner with communities truly around the globe to hide cycling caps and bandanas on a specific day. And then it's a community-wide scavenger hunt. And it was a home run in Fayetteville. I got to create the points of interest, kind of the clues, the geocaching clues. And then me and my wife went out and hid them. And then just watch the community wake up and go chase these things down. And so many, I think what the takeaway from that was, one, cyclists like scavenger hunts, who knew? But then two, just the encouragement that it gave our community to just get on their bikes and ride. That was really cool to see, just the comments and the thank yous about having something like that just, encouraged folks to get up early on a Saturday morning and get on their bicycle and go on an adventure in Fayetteville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun to be part of that and see that grow. It was our third year doing that, first year in Fayetteville, and looking forward to doing it some more.
I'm already looking for new hide spots. Don't worry.
Yeah. Got to find the cuddiest, most hidden spots.
That's right.
Yeah. Amelia, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yeah, we've got a couple. I'll join you all and ask those. So, Brannon, I'm glad you already talked about bike parking, because I think we all agree it is a really important piece of the puzzle. And before you were talking about that, somebody asked how Fayetteville encourages businesses to offer bike parking. And so curious to hear about any sort of policies or incentives or public-private, cost sharing that is in place to help encourage good bike parking.
That's a great one. I actually just, well, it was on my phone, and what it is, and it's a good question to ask, but we have a program where business owners that don't have bikes can request bike racks online as part of the city program. So we actually fund the bike racks in our community. We have city ordinances, all new development are required to include bike racks with their new commercial development. But at the same time, if you've got an existing property or an older property, you're looking to upgrade your bike racks, we've got some pretty, they're standard, but they check all the boxes. They're a couple touch points. They're the hoops, everything you want to see a bike rack be. And we'll actually come install them for our customer or for our community partners in Fayetteville at no charge.
Awesome, thanks. And then another question for you. How many people are on your staff? Is there anybody else working on cycling specifically? And how many people in general work at Experience Fayetteville?
I think our staff is up to, I think we've got about 13 full-time employees. We don't, for those that are familiar with the tourism structure, we've got obviously a marketing department, we've got a sales department. We don't have someone specific in sports sales. We have a VP of sales, Tina Archercoke. She does a fantastic job in that role. I kind of walk the line between both those departments. And so when it comes to, marketing initiatives and opportunities to tell Fayetteville's unique cycling story to potential guests, I typically take the lead and you work with our ad agency and other agencies at records and other partners with like Ride with GPS to elevate that story. And then when it comes to, identifying opportunity for events to consider Fayetteville as a place to host that event, then if it's specific to cycling and call it outdoor recreation, a lot of times I step in to manage those relationships as well.
Nice. And then I'm going to take the opportunity to ask you, I mentioned in your intro that you're the only cycling tourism director that I'm aware of. Do you know of any other ones? And did your role already exist before you were in it, or did you help create it?
I don't, that's a good question. I don't know of any other specifically with this title. I know there's a lot of people out there they're doing the work, title or not, right? That's just the truth. There's a lot of people working in this space and doing truly meaningful work. My title is specific to cycling. The actual, just some quick history. So, I like to call Fayetteville and Northwest Arkansas event rich, and it's the success of events like the International Mountain Bike Association's World Summit that we hosted in 2016, the Red Bull Pump Track World Championship that we hosted in 2019, and most recently, we hosted the 2022 UCI Cyclocross World Championships. Those continue to create and generate bicycle tourism trips to Northwest Arkansas, but it was that World Championships when we were successful in securing the rights for that back in 2018. I think they recognized that they needed a point person. They needed somebody in a role to help shepherd that to success, and created this opportunity. And at the time, I'd been in trail development for some time. I have a background in trail development and nonprofit work. I worked extensively with our community to foster and grow both the volunteer efforts to build and maintain trails, as well as community partners, city leaders to establish new trail systems. And I did in the region. I did that for several years, we'll call it, and then transitioned to tourism in 2019 once we did land what I would call a pretty prestigious event. We were pretty exciting. It's estimated, we talk about bikes being big business. That same study we've been referencing, and I'm pretty excited about this. Visiting spectators spent over $4 million in Northwest Arkansas during their 4-day stay in the region as part of that just one event. The recent economic impact study from that event rated $9.9 million. We generated over $1 million in tax collections. And probably the most meaningful thing to me, the racers, the athletes themselves, the participants, they were surveyed as part of this study. And most of them identified that the 2022 championships in Fayetteville as the best version among all the championships they'd attended since 2015. So it was a home run for the region. I was excited to, and to land the role, and look forward to hanging out in tourism and doing good things for my community.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember on some of those hotel bicycle friendly business applications, there was at least one renewal that said they were already a BFB before the UCI event, and it was a big selling point to be able to tell cyclists traveling that they could accommodate bikes, they could store bikes safely. There was a bike wash station, and
now, when you host Team USA for a world championship, it kind of, if you're, I think that, and I know the property you're talking about, and they're excited to, that they have ownership in it. They've got, they've got stake in it at this point. And so, Kendra and her team are great. And I think we're seeing more and more of that.
Awesome. Alex, I have a question for you now. We see tourism bureaus of communities of all shapes and sizes coming to the BFA program because they see this connection. And including some really small towns that are sort of trail towns. Our smallest that I can think of is a community of 800 people, residents up in Minnesota, Walker, Minnesota, if anybody wants to look it up or travel there. But I'm curious if you have examples of sort of smaller towns, rural places that are using the Ride with GPS tourism account yet, for places like that to look to as a model.
I think about Wayuna in Minnesota. I don't know their population off the top of my head, but I know that it's a smaller community and they've been using our tools, not just for promoting their different cycling experiences in the area, but also their water network, since there's a lot of lakes and a river or two up there that, you know, they got creative and didn't limit just to where to ride your bike, but using Ride with GPS beyond just for bikes. You know, you can use it for things other than you know, bike navigation. They got creative and made routes on the lakeshore, and other communities using it for hiking or ATV. Brandon's done it for I think dual sport sort of route creation and equestrian snowmobile. So if there are opportunities like that in your area, you can certainly look through using our tools for that lens too, since we do have a pretty big audience that's not just in the bicycling world, but outside of that. So I think, you know, that is attractive to, I think, a lot of smaller communities, because they do offer more than just bike riding opportunities. There's a lot of recreation opportunities in small areas.
Awesome, that's great. We have a couple minutes left, so if anybody has any burning questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We can also let you raise your hand if you have a quick question you want to ask out loud. But also, I'd really encourage folks to reach out to Alex to learn more about using Ride with GPS. And Alex, if you can put your email address in the chat, I think that would be great. And I'm going to add some links to the chat as well, just so that people can save these. And like I said, we'll be putting the recording out to everybody who registered to attend, so you can watch this or share this with others. I'm going to put in the chat the link for the Bicycle Friendly Business Program, since that got a lot of mentions today, and I do think the tourism angle is a really great connection with the Bicycle Friendly Business Program. So I appreciate, Brannon, you bringing that up, and encourage folks to make those connections as well with your local businesses. If there aren't any other questions, any final comments from you all before I close this out?
Thanks for taking the time to set this up and host, Amelia. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Amelia, Alex, thank you both. This is kind of like my worlds colliding. Obviously, we've done a lot of meaningful work with the Bike League, and as well as Alex and Ride with GPS. And so for me, it's pretty special to see, you know, kind of all those efforts, if you will, in one conversation. So thanks for the invite and having me on, and hopefully folks on the call have a couple actionable items, we'll call it, that they can take back home and start implementing. And again, you're welcome to reach out to me as well.
Awesome, that's great. And I just put up on the slides a preview of our next webinar, which is happening next week, because I thought it might be interesting for folks who were interested in today's webinar, all about traveling by bike and Amtrak. So I'll put these links in the chat for anybody who wants to register to attend that webinar next week, or to learn more about our Amtrak task force, bike task force, and our survey for people who have taken a bike on Amtrak. So I feel like there's some crossover with today's audience, so I wanted to give a shout out. And then the League puts on webinars like this regularly and has a lot of other great resources, so I encourage you to follow us on social media, subscribe to our newsletter, and join the League as a member. We are a member-based organization, and we really appreciate the support of all of our individual and corporate members and organizational members all across the country. Huge thank you to our speakers today, to Ride with GPS, for partnering with us and for supporting the League's work. your work. And Brannon, thank you for being a shining star in the BFA program and tourism and cycling, and just a great model for everybody to use in their own communities. Thank you both really for your time today, and thank you to all of our speakers and sorry, for all of our attendees for your time today. It's been great to have you all with us, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. All right, take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.